Oh, I'm caught on the rug. Bug in the rug, Jeff. Hello everyone, welcome back to Foster the Meeple, a channel all about
board games
and
snapshots.
Exactly, which is exactly what we're here to do today. It's another episode of Board Game Snapshots. So for anybody that doesn't know, our Snapshot series is a series of videos where we do 5 mini reviews on, you guessed it, board games.
Yep.
Sometimes board gamey things, but today it's all board games. So just up front, all but one of these games was sent to us for review, but we will make sure to pop that up on the screen so you know, yada, 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 all of that jazz, right?
Yep.
So we are actually going to be getting started with a little Cascadia, Rolling Hills and Rolling Rivers. And this portion of the video is actually sponsored by Flatout Games, who published these games. So we are more so going to give an overview of these ones rather than a review.
Yep.
Cascadia, Rolling Hills, and Rolling Realms are the newest, latest versions of Cascadia, and they are roll and write games.
Yeah.
Okay? I am going to talk about these as if they were one, and you're probably wondering, why would you do that?
What's the difference?
There's no difference.
Other than maps?
Even, so the maps are slightly different, but I'll kind of get into that. But just know that the rule set for both of these games is the exact same. Okay? So really, you need to, if you're interested, pick one that you prefer the theme a little bit. I suppose. Do you prefer rivers or hills? It's your world out there.
Well,
okay?
Big world, lot of smells.
Big world, lot of smells. So in Cascadia Rolling X, you are going to be choosing one of the 4 maps. Each set comes with 4 A, B, C, and D, as well as the classic Cascadia animals. You got your elks, you got your bears, you got your eagles, you got your foxes, and you've got your salmon. Okay? Make sense?
Yep.
In the game, there's a common pool of dice that you're going to be rolling, and then everybody has their own personal die. So you're going to be rolling the common pool of dice, and that is going to be showing you different symbols. Most of those symbols are going to be the different animal types. What are they again? Bears, elk, fish, eagle, fox.
You said fish this time and salmon the first time.
It's salmon. Anyways, then you are going to be rolling your personal die, which also has some form of an animal on it.
Yep.
What you're then going to be doing is choosing one animal type, and you are going to be placing that animal type somewhere on your map. Depends on how the map works. Some of them you're actually going to write out like what, like the letter of them, because you're trying to fill out different areas. Others you're just crossing off salmon, or you're spending salmon, or whatever it might be. So you're going to take those, and you have a little kind of paper spreadsheet where you're going to be marking the amount of animals that you have. So if you choose fox and you rolled a fox and there's 2 foxes in the common pool, you're going to mark down 3 foxes in addition to the ones that you have. That's basically how you keep track of your stock of animals. Okay? Then there's going to be a row of habitat cards up at the top. And you are essentially trying to complete the habitat cards based on their needs. So each habitat card is going to tell you what kind of habitat it is. So maybe it's water. Perhaps it's a forest. Nay, even a mountain.
Yep.
Could be any of these things. And it'll tell you exactly how many of which animals need to go into that habitat in order for you to be able to mark it off on your sheet. That's what you're doing. As soon as you feel like you have enough, you can do one of the habitats, and then the habitats are kind of going almost on a conveyor belt.
So there's this really interesting timer mechanic, because you could be working towards a habitat, and then all of a sudden it's gone.
It's gone. Exactly. So once it kind of gets to the end, it goes away, and you're going to bring a new one out. So every round there's a new habitat, and they're shifting. And the reason also why the shifting matters is because at the beginning of the game, you are going to be setting up these almost like extra bonus or objective cards above or below the habitat. Some of them are going to give you like instant rewards. Some of them might give you resources. Some of them might allow you to change what you pay in order to complete a habitat. And so that's going to be changing every round. So there's a little bit of planning ahead that could go along with that.
Yeah.
Just like in regular Cascadia, there's like a variety of like habitat types. Well, not types, but like how in Cascadia you have the animals, how it's like, this is how a fox scores if this. You have that with the habitat card. So you got to choose that. So there's a ton of variety that comes in these little boxes. The actual like roll and write sheets themselves get progressively more difficult. So the A sheet and the B sheet are considered like easy, C would be medium, and then D would be considered difficult. So you can play this multiplayer and you can also play it solo. Jeff and I played together, and then I played through the entire Rolling Hills set solo. I played all 4 scenarios, and basically that just works as you're just trying to get better and better and better scores.
Yep.
Okay? So that is a little bit more about Cascadia, Rolling Hills, and Rolling Rivers. Once again, all of the information is going to be in the description below. What I will say is that, once again, they are the same. The maps play the same, but are shaped differently. So as an example, the way that map A in Rolling Hills plays is going to play the same as map A in the Rolling Rivers, but the shape and format is different. So if you want more variety, then you might want to consider getting both of them, but just know rule set's the same even for the maps. Make sense? Anything else that you'd like to say?
You got it.
Cool. So that is Cascadia, Rolling Rivers, and Rolling Hills. Thank you to Flatout Games for sending these along.
Next up, we have a actual heavy boy, Maps of Misterra, and this was sent to us from Flat River Group and is published by Sit Down.
Sit down.
Maps of Misterra is a tile placement game where the players are playing basically as cartographers. And each person is actually mapping out this land on their own. So there is a main board, which is a map, undiscovered island, and you are going to be moving your cartographer through in order to map out different tiles. The 4 tiles can be like jungle, plains, desert, mountains, water, typical kind of fare in that regard. What's interesting is when you see a location in front of you, it's a bit foggy because you're like, I'm pretty sure I know what's there, but I'm not entirely sure, and you don't know until you actually go to that spot. So what's interesting is someone else could maybe then take their turn and be like, I actually think that's not mountain. I think it's water. And that actually is going to be this really interesting tug of war between the players because each person is trying to map out this island as effectively and as accurately as possible in order to score the most victory points. What's also interesting is like there's these scoring mechanics for like adjacency bonuses and clusters, and each of the tile locations has a bonus action that is offered by going to those tiles. So the movement in this game is actually really limited. You can only move 1 space. But let's say you move to I can't remember which one it is, but if you move to a specific tile type, it allows you to move for free. So that's how you kind of get around this board quicker. But again, each player is trying to uncover and discover this island in their own unique way. It felt like cartographers in a board game format.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, everybody gets their own kind of little quest. So like I was trying to get more of the like mountains kind of in a specific area so that I could score more points, and Jeff was going for forests, and I'm like, well, because like nothing is official until it's been like mapped out and discovered twice. So
that would be the foggy, and then once it's walked on or discovered again, it flips to its confirmed side. And yeah, each player has their, like I mentioned, each player has their own little cartography map that they're placing tiles on, these little cards on, to match the main board. And so those might need to get covered up, and so they can get, your board doesn't need to match the main board, but the better it does, the more you're going to score.
Exactly. And I just thought like it was such a unique game. It gave me, the only game that I felt it was sort of similar to was Karuba in a way, because you're kind of building out your map as you go, kind of in the same way as Karuba, but I think that's basically as far as the similarities went.
One thing I forgot, you also too are claiming regions.
Yeah.
And you want to claim large clusters of regions.
Mm-hmm.
So you could technically claim a 1-by-1 tile region, but you're not going to score good.
Yeah.
But let's say, for example, you put your claim tile down, and it's like 3 jungle tiles.
Yeah.
And there's 4 and 5 on the foggy side that are jungle tiles. Well, that can change what you score for your claimed region, because if someone comes in and it's like, well, I actually think that's mountain, and changes it to mountain, that's not going to be part of your claim. So it's this really like interesting timer on like when do you actually claim things, because once someone, I believe, claims 2 or 3 areas, the game end trigger happens.
Right.
So it's this really interesting timer mechanic as well.
Yeah, it says 45 minutes on the box. I think it played for us a lot quicker than that. I remember us playing it and being like, wow, like that was a quick game. So I imagine at 4 players it would take a little bit longer. You can
we did play it too.
Yeah, we played it at 2. You can play it solo if you're interested. But yeah, I think that it's a really interesting, unique game. Like, is it my favorite game of all time? No, but I would definitely consider showing this to a lot of different people because it's unique. And if you're interested, you can play it and try it for free on Board Game Arena. So it is on BGA if you'd like to try it. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
That is Maps of Misterra from Sit Down Games.
Yeah. Next up, we have, some may call it a big boy. So big, I can barely lift that. Okay. We have talked about Wonderland's War a lot. But today we're specifically talking about the Shards of Madness expansion. So in the most recent Kickstarter, where they did the reprint, they also offered an expansion called Shards of Madness, which of course we bought, and a couple of different like upgrades. We got the playing cards, we got some dice, and we got the upgraded mats for Jabberwock and Mad Hatter. So we did play this again, and we used the new mats for both Jabberwock and Mad Hatter. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. But what we really wanted to focus on today is the Shards of Madness expansion. The expansion essentially adds new Wonderlandian cards. Actually, let me just do a quick, in case this is your first time seeing Wonderland's War, welcome to the beauty of it, okay? This is a board game based on Alice in Wonderland. It is a bag builder combat style game where you are going around a tea party and you are collecting different cards to gain chips to put into your bag building. You're also going to be using those cards to put supporters out onto the board in different areas of Wonderland so that you can then in the next phase fight. You go to war for Wonderland, because you are trying to get your castles out onto the different areas to score more points. Whoever scores the most points wins. The battles are done by reaching into your bag, pulling out a chip, revealing it at the same time, trying not to bust, and trying to become the victor. Okay, so in the Shards of Madness expansion, it adds a few new elements. The first is there is a new card that comes out for the starting battle location of every round. So whoever wins in the area where the starting battle happens is going to receive some form of a benefit. One side of it is giving you victory points. The other side of it is giving you, I think, allowing you to take shards away and doing all of these things.
And you get to choose.
At the next round, whatever side the person puts it on. So that's one new element. The second new element is there is a new forge card. In this game, forging is a really big thing. There's a token that is called a forge token, and if you pull that, it allows you to forge one of your active chips at the end of the battle into your player mat, which allows you to upgrade your mat. You're going to get a variety of different benefits, victory points, possibly new chips, all of these different things. The new forge actually allows you to forge one of your exhausted chips, so it gives you a little bit more options for a shard. Yes, exactly. So that's the new piece there. Then it comes with a stack of new Wonderlandian cards that replace the original game's Wonderlandian cards. So a big part of this expansion, it's all about shards. It's almost using shards as kind of like a risk-reward type of system where it's like, well, you can do this cool thing, but you have to gain a shard. Or you can do this thing and you're going to give somebody else a shard. So all of the Wonderlandians get swapped out for these new cards. Most of them are somehow manipulating their abilities using shards, basically. Okay, so when you start the game, you switch them out. There is also within it a tea and crumpets expansion that's almost like a mini thing that you don't have to add in, but you can. We, of course, added it in. Basically what it does is each player gets to draft or draw 3 cards from this deck at the beginning of the game, and from those cards you're going to select one which is going to give you a starter Wonderlandian.
Yep.
So it's like you almost get like you beef yourself up right at the beginning. Yep. And then you choose another that is going to either give you a penalty or a reward or a mix of both, and it's also going to tell you how many supporters you start with. So in a game that Jeff and I played last night, I got to start with 8 supporters, he started with 7. Okay, so that's another piece of it as well. It also comes with these big, honking, purple gems shards that are worth 10. They're beautiful, but you definitely don't want them because it means that you have 10 shards.
It's like that Aladdin when Abu sees the red gem.
Exactly. That's exactly what it's like. It also does include a couple new quest cards and 2 new types of quests, whereas typically with the quest cards, there's feats and then there's end of game objectives. One of the new type of cards is just double feats, so no end of game, so it's just double-sided feats. And then it sounds like I'm saying feats, like feet, but I'm not. Feats, F-E-A-T-S. And then the other one is a leader feat. So where everything else is usually like specific to an area of the board, these quest cards are specific to wherever your leader is on the board. So it might be like win in an area where your leader is with 6 active chips, something like that. So those are added in as well. So just to speak on the Shards of Madness expansion, I really liked it. I think it gives the game a lot of extra kind of variety. If you've played with the Wonderlandians like a ton, I think it definitely makes it a little bit more interesting with the shards, because shards are really something that you don't want, but in this version, like, there's some really good stuff that you're like, well, I guess I'll take a shard and I'll risk it.
Yeah, it just expanded the decision-making space, I think.
For sure.
In the game, which I think is a good thing. It didn't hinder my play of this. I'm kind of the opinion I don't think I'll play without the expansion stuff moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, we'll switch the Wonderlandians, but I
Depends who else we're playing with.
For sure. The new quest cards, it's just, it does not overcomplicate anything. It's just like, oh, it's just some more options. I really did like the tea and crumpets part, though, and starting off with a Wonderlandian and a little bit of variety to the player setup.
Yeah.
Like, it took me less than 5 minutes to read the rules to the expansion and to get it out and teach it to Jeff and to do all that stuff. So I think it's really cool, and I'm really happy that we have it. In terms of the player mats, I think they've made Mad Hatter a little bit harder, because before he was, not that he was easier, but some of his abilities were like really good. And so now, like as an example, you used to, I think once you filled up your madness track or something, I can't remember, you got to take up 2 power chip. But now if you want to do that, you also have to take a shard. So it just makes him a little bit more difficult. Yeah.
Jabberwock, I think a lot of people felt was underpowered. His ability was just kind of lackluster. I think, if I remember correctly, you could put out a poison. And then if there wasn't a poison, you could put another one out. They've changed the timing of that. So now you can put out 2 poisons each tea party. So 3 each round, basically, you can put out 2 poisons. And if Jabberwock goes to a location with a poison, he actually is able to do more. So if he goes to a place with a poison, he doesn't take the poison, it comes back to his supply, and he's allowed to add 1 extra supporter to the board, which I enjoyed. I did not enjoy playing Jabberwock in the base game, but I did enjoy playing him. Jamie did end up winning as Mad Hatter. Jamie tends to always win this game, though.
Why? So because I'm very lucky.
I don't think it's probably had to do with suboptimal play on my behalf, but it was close. I think the difference was only 5 or 6 points by the end of it. I think the upgrades to level those things out. I mean, barring we haven't played with those 2 characters with any of the others yet. We've only played them 1v1. But again, like, if you think about it, that would have technically been the strongest character versus the weakest, and it, the point spread wasn't too bad.
Yeah, and I mean, whether or not this is a review, like we obviously love Wonderland's War. We talk about it all the time. But if you want more Wonderland's War and you're interested, I would definitely recommend the expansion. I think that it adds a little extra spice to it, and the upgraded player mats definitely make. I mean, I always love playing as Mad Hatter regardless, but I think it makes Jabberwock more enjoyable because it seems like that's the one character that people are like, I don't really like this one.
Yeah, I enjoyed the decision space with the poisons for sure.
Yeah, and we're going to have a lot more Wonderland's War content coming up, so you all just hold your horses. We might even be playing it during the Gameathon, Foster the Gameathon, which you should definitely join us, March 23rd/24th. This is going to be one of our first games that we play during the Gameathon, so you can come hang out with us while we play. Thanks, Jeff.
Good plug, Jamie.
Thanks, Jeff.
Next up, we have from iello.
Iello.
Ancient Knowledge, and this was sent to us from Flat River Group.
Yeah.
Ancient Knowledge is a card-driven civilization game based around ancient knowledge. So in this game, you are playing a civ with different cards that all represent different knowledge bases.
Yes.
And those cards are all going to come out on a timer track on your player board from 1 to 6. And that is as mentioned, a timer. So if you put out this knowledge that goes into slot 6, you're going to have 6 rounds until it basically becomes forgotten knowledge, and you're going to lose that information, which you don't want to happen. So when cards get played out, they all have basically these little tablets that get played on the card. Some cards have multiple, some only have one. Those tablets represent the knowledge, and you're trying to gain that knowledge before the card timer runs out and it's lost. Yep. So all lost knowledge at the end of the game is going to be negative points.
It's bad.
So it's this card manipulation. Cards are also currency. There's a bit of a set collection piece. It's relatively straightforward, easy to table, and played relatively quickly. Yeah. But basically what you're going to be doing is playing cards into these slots, playing other cards for their abilities in order for you to gain knowledge off of them, to put it into your supply so that it doesn't go and become lost knowledge. There's also cards that, as they go off the side and become part of your past, you can use those to turn, basically to search, to draw new cards. Cards are, as mentioned, currency, and they can be hard to get if you don't plan properly. Yeah. So I found by the end of the game, Jamie had this crazy engine going, and I was really struggling to draw cards to be able to put new knowledge out on my board. So it's a really interesting kind of take on Civilization. I really did enjoy the theme. I've not played anything kind of with that knowledge-based theme before. But again, pretty lightweight game that, I enjoyed it.
I really liked it. It gave me, I had to check when we were playing it because I was like, is this designed by the same person that designed Innovation? Because it was giving me very similar vibes. I think this is the kind of game that the more you play it,
you're going to get used to the cards.
Yeah, because there are so many cards and so many of them trigger off of each other.
How many are there? I want to check, actually. 148.
Yeah, 148 cards. And then there's also, like, artifacts that you're putting out and all of these different things. And it is, like, it's definitely could be AP inducing, just so everybody knows. But there is, like, so much that you can do, and there's so much that you have to manage, because as the cards are, like, ticking down, you're like, I gotta get that knowledge off. And I had this one card that had, like, 10 on it, and if any were left by the time it went into the past, instead of it scoring, like, 12 points, it would have scored 1 point, which would have sucked. And so, like, I had this trigger that I just kept putting out different cards that allowed me to, like, switch places. So I was giving myself more time. But there's a lot of management. This is on Board Game Arena if anybody's interested in trying it out for free. I really, really, really liked it, though.
Yeah, and there is a little bit of, there's not a ton of player action, but there is a little bit, like, I was able to put new knowledge tablets on Jamie's card.
Yeah, there's a little hint of meanness.
Yeah, little tiny bit of hint of meanness to it,
it's like
but not a lot.
Somebody that was mean just went, sneezed on a little bit.
Last up from Garphill Games, it was sent to us by Garphill Games. It is Shipwrights of the North Sea Redux.
Redux.
Full transparency,
We
did not play the original
Shipwrights. But from what I have read, it is very different. The theme is the same, but the gameplay is very different.
Okay.
Funny enough, we have played Raiders of the North Sea, and we have played Explorers of the North Sea. This was the only one of the original North Sea trilogy that we hadn't played until now.
Shipwrights of the North Sea is a card-based game where you are essentially working at a dockyard. You are playing as a shipwright, and you are trying to basically build out the best possible fleet you can. And you're doing that by using action selection, worker placement slots. You're utilizing your card workers, which maybe give you benefits in order to collect resources, which are like wool, wood, gold.
There's coins.
Typical this system world.
Yeah. Stones.
There are 3 tracks in this game that you're going to be going up depending on what type of characters that you kind of recruit to your huts. So you're building out houses so you can house.
You sound like me.
I got to get rid of my accent for that one.
Hose.
Placing characters in your houses, which are going to give you ongoing benefits and allow you to manipulate these 3 tracks, because as you go up them, you're going to be getting bonuses and scoring more victory points depending on how far up you go. But the base chunk of the game is putting out ships into your dock area. There's 5 slots you can put ships in, and all of these ships are basically your end goal for victory points for the most part. You can also get what are called Jarls, which are like more powerful cards. They're super rare. There's not a ton of them in the game, and they also boost your end game victory points. But ultimately on your turn, it's very solitaire puzzly.
Oh yeah, you're
simultaneously doing actions, you're doing your own stuff in order to build out your ships. So again, there's this worker placement, so you can basically add to your tableau to give yourself more worker placement slots to go to, but you're also using cards as currency in order to get resources, in order to discard for maybe another card, or discarding for resources and what have you. This is also on a timer, so there's a certain set of rounds. The game plays very quickly and very fast, and ramps up very quickly. Yeah, it's basically just a solitaire puzzle in order to maximize your tableau and build out as many ships as you can.
Yes, this is a game where you're not going to be able to do everything that you want to do, and it is like truly like an engine builder, because you're like, well, if I put out these huts, and then you can house people at the huts, which then when you put a worker there, you're going to be able to trigger this going to get you some resources, and then you can trade resources, you can use coins to trade for different resources, and all of these different things. The beginning of each round, you're doing a draft as well, so you're kind of taking cards, passing, and all of that stuff. And so there is like extremely limited player interaction. Like at one point in the game,
other than the draft, really.
Yeah, at one point in the game, I just looked over. I'm like, I don't even know what you've got going on, and honestly, I don't care.
It's a race for points, for sure.
Like I was so focused on my little engine that I was just like, now I'm doing this and I'm getting gold and I'm doing this, which I love. I love a good like solo little puzzle, but like you're playing together. It's like a multiplayer solitaire type of game. I really, really, really liked it a lot. I like being able to do as many things and maximizing, but there's a few things I would say. Number one, what I said I wasn't paying attention to what Jeff was doing, so make sure you play with people you can trust.
Yeah.
And then also, I cannot even imagine if you struggle with analysis paralysis, this game, I think it might blow your brain up.
It's meant to be played quickly, I think, and not quickly in terms of like playing this game in 15 minutes, but like if someone's struggling with, like to Jamie's point, struggling with AP, like this game is going to stretch way too long.
Yeah, like if you're done and you're looking
because you're just waiting for someone,
and the other person is going, and they just keep going, and they keep going, and you're just like, what's going on over there?
Yeah.
So yeah,
optimizing your turn is going to be difficult because there are so many kind of different little paths you can do. Whether it's like I said, discarding a card, like each card has multiple options you can take. Like you can play it into a house, you can use it for resources, you can discard it. There's a ton of options to take. Yeah. The only other thing I'll mention is the round cards that flip up. All of the trading changes from round to round. So sometimes rock might be more valuable. So you can trade rock for coins or vice versa. that changes each round, which becomes important for later game when you're trying to build and complete your ships, and you've built your engine out. Because you only have so many workers that you can place.
I'll be really interested. I'd like to play this solo. I think it would be a great solo game. I don't think that I would want to play this at more than 2 players, though. You could play up to 5. I guess it depends.
I mean, yeah, it really depends.
It depends
given
on the
that
group. I would be so nervous to play this with like people that I don't know whether or not they're going to take forever, because I don't like
this
that.
would be an enjoyable experience just for the drafting element to do it at 4-player, but I would also want to play with people that are like not prone to that, because I feel like it would.
I'm very excited.
It would hinder the experience if I was constantly waiting at the end of my turn for someone to just take another 15 minutes to complete their turn, you know?
For sure. Cool. So that is Shipwrights of the North Sea Redux, and this is available for pre-order now. I think it comes out March 14th. Or around that date. So if you're interested, you can pre-order it on like at your friendly local gaming store, through Garphill Games, whatever you like to do. But yeah, that's Shipwrights of the North Sea. Those are 5 more games that we have been playing recently. We would love to know down below if you've played any of these. What do you think of them? Are you excited to try any of them? Etc, etc, etc. Once again, a big thank you to Flatout Games for sponsoring a portion of this video.
Yes.
So shout out to them, and don't forget to check out Cascadia Rolling.
Hills.
Rolling.
And what's the other one?
Rivers.
Rivers.
Rolling with my homies. That is everything we have for today. Now, if you're interested in buying board games, the first place you should start is your friendly local gaming store. And for us, that is...
The Boardroom Game Cafe.
We're taking our friend Nicholas Murphy there.
We are.
This next weekend.
We are.
Okay, very excited about that.
Yeah.
Do you like snacks?
I do.
Where do people get snacks?
Munchpak.
That's correct. And if you like what you see...
Please subscribe.
We hope to see you again soon. And now we say goodbye. Goodbye!
Later days.
There's chocolate. And there's chocolate. Salt and pepper.
Scraggly gray hairs.
I could do this. There's so many now. Salt and pepper.
Getting old.
Salt and pepper. No, Jeff, you're getting more refined. Come to me. This needs to go more towards me. Active chips. No, it allows you to I did that wrong. I did it backwards. Whoa, remember that song?
No.
Rolling with my homies. It's from, anyways, it was in Clueless. Ugh, as if, Jeff. Now I gotta clean in here.
Yep.
Don't forget to take off your microphone. You're always running away with it.